Hi guys, so here are our practice problems for today's lesson. Okay, in the first problem, we have two secant lines that intersect inside the circle. Remember, when the lines intersect inside the circle, the angle that is formed by those two lines, this angle right here, is equal to half. So this angle right here, let's call it angle 1. This angle 1 is equal half of the sum between the two intercepted arcs. So I'm talking about these two arcs right here. So we have to add them together. So in our case, that's going to be 34 plus 40. So measure of angle 1 is equal 1/2 of 74, which equals 37 degrees. Okay. In the next three problems, our lines meet outside of the circle. So we are going to use the same formula, except instead of sum, we're going to use the difference. Okay, so in order for us to find the measure of angle C, we'll have to find 1/2 of the difference between the outside arc that's intercepted by this angle and the inside arc. Now, I don't know if you guys can see, but this arc on the inside, we don't know its measure, okay? But remember, the sum of all the arcs in the circle has to equal to 360, which means that this arc right here has to be 360 minus the sum of these three arcs, which is 100, 220, 290. So it's equal to 70 degrees. So the measure of angle C is going to be 1/2 of the difference between 120 and 70. So measure of angle C is equal to 1/2 of 50, which is 25 degrees. Okay, so we did one with the two secant lines. Now let's look at the one with two tangent lines. The rule is exactly the same. The measure of this angle, which in this case is 60, has to equal 1/2 the difference between the outside and inside arc. Now, we are asked to find arc BD, which is this arc right here. Okay, so I am going to call this arc, I'm going to use X to represent the measure of this arc. Okay, since the entire circle is 360 degrees, we can write an expression for this remaining arc, the one that is on the outside, as 360 minus X. Okay, so now again, this angle right here has to equal 1/2 of the difference between 360 minus X and this inside arc, which is X. So that means that 60 is equal to 1/2 of 360 minus 2X. Okay, we're going to distribute our 1/2. So 60 equals 180 minus X. Okay, and that means that X has to equal 120 degrees. Okay, so the measure of arc BD is 120 degrees. Okay, in this case, we have a secant line and a tangent line. Okay, and again, the formula is exactly the same. The measure of this angle C has to equal 1/2 the difference between the outside arc, which here is 160, okay, and the inside arc, which we don't know, but once again, we know the sum of all these arcs have to add up to 360, which means that this arc has to be 360 minus 280, which is 80 degrees. So now the measure of angle C, it will be 1/2 of 160 minus 80 is 80, which means that measure of angle C is 40 degrees. Okay, this last problem is a review problem. Okay, we have a secant line and a tangent line. Okay, and we know that any tangent line is always perpendicular to the radius. Okay, so this creates a right triangle in this case. Okay, and we know that both of these represent the radius, so they have to be the same. Okay, Having right triangle means let's use Pythagorean theorem to find what x is. So we're going to write x squared plus 60 squared is equal to, the expression for hypotenuse is going to be x plus 20 squared, okay? And remember, we can't just write x squared plus 20 squared over here. We have to expand this binomial. We're going to use this formula, a plus b squared equals a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Okay, so x squared plus 60 squared, actually we're going to write 3600, is equal to x squared plus 2 times x times 20 is 40x, plus 20 squared, which is 400. Okay, we have x squared on both sides, so we can cancel them out. That means that 40x has to equal to 3200, which means that x is 80. Okay, and there you have it. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow.